podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets. Interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen. Hello, my name is Kim Wannop, and this is Decorating Pages. On this episode, my guest is Ian Phillips. Ian is a production designer for such shows as Parks and Recreation, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Love, which is on Netflix, and ABC's Splitting Up Together, which is currently airing on Tuesday nights. He has joined the third season of The Good Place with me, so we are reunited, and it feels so good. But it feels like a reunion because much of the crew that was on Parks and Recreation for years, you know, the show ends, and then you all go your different ways, and Mike Schur was nice enough to bring us all back together on The Good Place. So as the seasons have gone on, it's kind of like we've all trickled back in. It's the closest work family that I've ever experienced. Ian has also art directed on TV and films, such as Tom Ford's A Single Man, CSI, and Bones. He has been nominated for a Satellite Award, an International Online Cinema Award, and 2 Art Directors Guild Awards. Ian is a friend of mine, and we have been working together long enough that, as you will hear, we don't even know how long. And to top it off, he's a super nice guy. Ian Phillips, thank you so much for helping me out with this and letting me interview you, because you're my friend.
I'm so happy to be here.
So it's not awkward at all.
No.
No, not at all. I have known you for...
a very long time.
7 years?
Longer
no,
than that.
Longer. On Bones.
Since Bones.
10?
Ooh, yeah,
10
at least.
Years?
Well, prior to the writer's strike, so...
Yeah, which was 2006?
Yeah, so we're going on 12 years.
Jesus
13
Christ.
years.
Okay, take it down. But I don't know how you got into the union.
Well, I got into the union when I was working on a movie called Material Girls, and Jim Spencer, who is a great designer, had hired me to do graphics for the movie. And when the movie was getting ready to turn union, Jim asked me what I wanted to be and what I wanted to do sort of in my career and how I wanted to further my career. And I said I wanted to be an art director. And so Jim said, well, then why don't you be the assistant art director on this movie, and that will get you in the Art Directors Guild, because at the time, graphic designers and art directors were not connected to each other.
They were in 44 still.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they were. No, they were in 871
right.
or the
They
Painters,
else,
or
right.
they were in another union. Maybe with set designers.
Right.
I'm not
Only
sure.
in the last 5 years have they
5
combined
years.
into the Art Directors Guild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we decided that I should go in as an assistant art director. That way I could be in the Art Directors Guild, because my aspirations were to be a production designer further than an art director, and not just be a graphic designer. So that was the movie that I got in. And when it flipped, I got into the union.
Lucky you.
Yeah. Took a lot of hard work prior to that.
No,
I'm not going to deny that.
No, I know. It always seems like whenever anyone asks me, how do you get in? I'm like, it's luck. It's sort of luck. Yeah. It's draw. You got to be prepared, and you got to be at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many people I know that still do non-union shows, that they're happy doing those non-union shows. But I know that for myself, I knew sort of what my direction was, so I knew I wanted to be in the union.
And then now that you are a production designer and you work regularly with the directors and collaborate with the showrunners on the look, how is your collaboration with them different from show to show, do you think?
I really think that, it depends on who you're working with. Obviously, personality is a big part of it. Sometimes you have people that know exactly what they want, and you can sit down at the drafting table or the computer and you can draw it up and show it to somebody and they say, yes, that's exactly what I want, or no, I wanted this, this, and this. And there are other people that have no visual sensibilities until they see the sets built. So you have to sit down and do a lot of sketches and ask a lot of questions and try and get a lot of answers, because you obviously are collaborating with directors and producers and showrunners, and there are so many different people that are involved in the making of a TV show that you're really collaborating with all of them.
Right.
It's not just them. It's how can I accomplish the vision of a show while still remaining in budget, which is what the producers obviously want.
Right.
And the director is telling you that he wants the Taj Mahal built. So how do you accomplish both of them? It's a challenge, certainly. I think it's, if you have a good personality, that always helps, because you're working so closely and so many hours with so many people that...
Like with Mike Schur, who we've worked with on Parks and Rec, and now we're both on The Good Place season 3 together. I know that you have such a good rapport with him, and I know that there's trust that builds up between showrunners and designers, and just because it's written on the page doesn't mean that your interpretation is exactly what he thought.
Absolutely.
And I think that a lot of times you've come up with things that they never thought about, and they're happy about that. But there's other times where
it's the complete opposite.
Complete opposite, and you're like, what? And we're like, what? I never thought of that.
We were not on the same page at all.
But I know that you have a relationship with him. But what is that like when talking to him about the sets of an episode?
I think that it's really just about talking it out. To be perfectly honest, it is about trying to achieve what Mike is looking for, and that's where the questions come in. Because in my mind, I'm a very visual person, and I can start to build the imagery in my head with what he is talking about, and as we sort of discuss what's in the script, and I can already start to build that before I even put it on paper. So it's important, especially with Mike, just to ask questions about
just pull it out of him.
What do you want this to really be? And of course, being comedy, I think it's one of those things where a lot of different things can be interpreted a lot of different ways. and
it's subjective.
What I think is funny, you may not find funny, and he may find really funny. So it's just trying to achieve the funniest moment that we can, and knowing what his sensibilities are, obviously having that history. What can we achieve together? That's what we have to do. We have to all do this together. You get to type it, and you get to write it, and I got to make it. So let's.
And then I got to dress it.
Right, and then you get to dress it. So let's all meet somewhere in the middle, and figure out what's going to be the funniest thing that we can achieve.
I do remember coming into comedy and being completely petrified and thinking, I don't know if my dressing is funny.
Right.
I don't know if I can do a comedy.
Well, and it's funny that you say that, because, in terms of design, when you sit down at the drafting table and you go, okay, well, I know that there's 3 people that enter and 2 people leave, and these people have to leave through a different entrance. I'm thinking strictly about architecture.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it sets in that it's like, but is it going to be funny?
Yeah.
Is the architecture going to be funny? Probably not. No. But there's a lot of when it comes to the decoration that you do, that's where the funny part comes in, because I look at it and I'm like, yeah, it's just kind of four walls sitting here, and it's not very funny. And of course, we all try to achieve some lightened sensibilities about it. You don't want a black room or a dark gray room that everybody's got to sit in and be funny, because it's just not going to be funny.
Well, but a lot of, I think one of the things that you and I struggle with is reality. The reality of it.
Yeah.
And you and I have been in on the joke that on Parks and Rec, where did Leslie Knope get all this money to throw all of these parties?
That is still a great question.
And we bring it up now.
To this very day, on this current show. Yeah.
Of like, okay, well, it's a big party, or it's a big... Well, where did they get the money? Because realistically, I'm just going to dress for what the character could achieve in my mind, but...
Right. And on a drama... That's what you would do.
Right.
You would instantly go, okay, well,
but
the script says...
It's 2-3 steps beyond.
Yes. This is a whole nother reality.
But we've also been in a situation where like, no, too much. Too much. Now you've gone too far. And then you're like, what? I thought that...
But where's that line drawn? And that's the best part about the line being drawn in the sand is
we can't see
you just kind of kick some sand over it a little bit and you redraw the line.
It's subjective. There's things that are funny to some and not others. And I think, I struggle with it too.
Oh, absolutely. I think every department in our industry struggles, certainly with comedy and such short format comedy.
Yeah, trying to get it all on the screen and relay that in our design in such a short amount. And by the time it's edited,
absolutely,
it's like, oh, there was so much funny stuff we
yes.
had in there.
But
we
thankfully,
didn't see it.
I do have to say, thankfully, most of the actors, I would say 98% of the people that we have worked with that are standing in front of all of our sets that they're filming have dug into the drawers and looked at the books and said, wow, these guys came up with some crazy shit, and that's really funny. Yes. Because at least nice someone is noticing it.
Yes. And I think Mike is always appreciative too.
Absolutely.
And he knows how much thought goes into like 3 words on his page that turns into 7 meetings.
Right, exactly.
And we achieve it, and I'm always pretty proud of that.
And sometimes you can never have enough meetings because
so many meetings.
It will be funny in the end, and if a few people laugh, then great. Then we've achieved our sort of design goals, because they'll pick up something that is absolutely ridiculous and they'll make a joke about it.
I know that your show right now, Splitting Up Together, is on the air. What design challenges came with those sets, and how much prep did you get?
Well, we had 7 weeks of prep, and that was for essentially 7 episodes. They were 5-day episodes, and we shot them straight through. There were no breaks at all. So that was a challenge all in itself. We didn't have a hiatus. But I would say our biggest challenge was the budget of the show and trying to replicate the house that was originally shot on the pilot is a multi-million-dollar home. And when you only have...
Again, how do these characters...
How do these people live? It's funny because I keep thinking that my credit card will just allow me to live that life, and then the bill comes
TV
in
character.
and
Charge it.
I'm happy to do that. Why not? It's that show was definitely a challenge on the budget that we had, and I think
it looks great.
You learn to find certain ways to achieve the overall look. You have to make compromises. There are always compromises that you make. It doesn't matter if you have $100 million or you have $5,000.
Right.
You always have to make compromises to achieve the overall design, and it's that budget, I think, really it appeals to everybody in every aspect of their life. Even if you're redoing your house, you have a budget. You know where your budget is. Now, thankfully, we are sort of the bank and the builder. So it's not like...
We can skimp on some things when it gets to a point.
And you can also go back and say, look, I need more money because this is what's being asked for.
There's that struggle, I think, that you go through a lot of, and what I do too, of I didn't write it. I'm just trying to achieve what's written. And if you don't have the budget, that you know that it can't be done to the extent or the level that you want it done.
Yes.
It's really hard. And I think anyone who loves the job like we do, it's hard because you're like, it could have been a little bit better. It could have been this much more better if I had that money to put into
such and such.
Yeah.
I do find that to be true. But again, I could have $100 million, and at the end of the day, I'm probably going to critique myself and say, had I only had $5,000 more, I could have...
Yes. If you had $100 million in a week, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if you had $10,000 and
or if I just had that extra week.
Yeah. It's always one of the...
always a challenge. And I do find that is the case on most shows.
Yes.
But that being said, I feel like we do try to really achieve the best design that we can, and within the scope of our limits, that's what we do, and it ends up on TV, and thankfully that show got picked up. I won't say that it was because of great design, but I'm going to say it contributed.
That's all they talked about in the upfronts today.
Absolutely. It was
the
house.
Design. I mean, how can we not pick up that show? Hello,
exactly.
We want to see what they're going to do with that house.
I'm kind of surprised that they even want actors to act in front of the sets.
They're getting in the way.
It could be a half an hour of just panning shots of beautiful sets.
And just so in case anyone doesn't know, when you make up a budget, whose budget you're making up a budget for what?
So our budget, when I first do a budget, it's basically pulling numbers out of the air from experience.
Right. Construction.
I am roughly guessing at what an overall cost will be for construction, paint, graphics, greens, and anything else that will fall under our purview.
Friday wine. No.
Friday wine, of course.
Friday wine and cheese in an art department
absolutely.
needs to be budgeted.
That needs, I mean, how can we get at least one case of wine in here?
Yes.
That is very important.
That's not,
how do we get it product placed?
It's a line item that everybody knows about but nobody talks about.
Exactly. That's so true.
And then when you submit a budget, we don't, as I do, I don't really get like, oh, you have $80,000 and now what's your budget? Because then my budget's going to be $79,999. So they don't tell us.
Yeah, really. I mean, depending on the show, I would have to say there are instances where they say, look, this is what you got. You got to be close to that. And if you think that it's going to go way over, if you come to me and say that set costs $40,000, you got to take it out.
Right.
Then there's a producer that's going to say, all right, we got to take that set out. We got to rewrite it to another place. We got to...
It's a location instead of a
build.
Do
something,
Yeah.
So, yes, I mean, of course there are restrictions. Now, when I first turn in a budget, that is part of the overall budget. So that is what the producers are looking at and saying, okay, it's going to cost X amount of dollars to build and to sort of get up and running. Now, that budget will go up and down depending on what the sets actually are. Because sometimes they're just telling you, oh, you're going to build a house and an apartment, and
Right.
I can say, well, sure, I can build a house. I can build a house for Y amount of dollars. But if it's going to be a mansion,
Right,
and
or
the
a
finishes,
craftsman,
or a craftsman,
and I need specific details,
then it's going to be this amount more.
right.
And of course, it's an ongoing process, and it's an evolving process to budget that stuff, because it is.
And it also has scheduling.
Yes.
Like it's
Yes.
it's first up.
Yes.
Well, then we gotta. Sometimes construction has to work the weekend. There's more money.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
it's last up. Oh my God, that was so nice of you.
We have so much time to build
We have
this,
4 days.
which means that we won't start until the very last second, of course. But
Right.
it's yes, it's
gets
an
done.
evolving process.
It gets done.
Yeah, it all gets done and it all gets filmed. We've never, thankfully,
Yeah, you better
we've
knock on
never,
wood.
yeah, knock on wood, knock on wood, knock on metal.
Yeah.
We haven't been caught with the paint drying, so
Yeah.
we've been really good, and we try to budget our time, because that's part of it too. It's just budgeting your time,
It really is.
knowing what you're going to have to do.
Especially because while you're budgeting that and it's being built, we're already on the next episode.
Right.
So it's such a wheels turning. Like I always think when a show starts and I can't sleep the night before, I'm like, the train starts tomorrow. And once that train starts going, it doesn't stop. Even like this past week, we've had a hiatus week on The Good Place, but you're still prepping.
Yes.
Another episode, so it's not like we had off. We still have meetings and tech scouts and...
That is the perfect analogy.
Okay, real quick, shot fire question. Favorite set to design on Parks and Recreation?
City Hall.
City Hall. Well, it's iconic at this point, so yeah.
Best one ever. I mean, we had how many miles of hallway in that set?
Oh my God.
I mean, yeah.
7.
Yeah.
7? Oh,
Yeah.
7 miles of hallway.
I mean, I would just go down and exercise in that hallway.
It was the saddest day to see that set come down.
It was.
It was
It
so
was.
sad. Like it was like bulldozers coming.
It was.
It was real
bulldozers.
oak.
It was
real,
solid oak.
It was solid oak. You couldn't take it down. It
You know,
didn't wanna leave.
thankfully, it did get repurposed.
Yes.
Some of that oak, that solid oak, was repurposed. Nick Offerman was kind enough to make giant paddles for a few people, so it was at least repurposed. It didn't all go in the dumpster.
No. I mean, I stole as much as I could off of them, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, it's funny. I now have 14 oak doors.
Yeah, I don't know what you're going to do
in
with all
my
those
house,
doors, Ian. It's weird.
Yeah,
I got the
I had
hinges. How weird do you think that is?
I had to reframe my whole entire house just to fit all the
Just to fit your
doors.
doors.
They were all 8 feet tall.
Gigantic doors. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ian, do you have your website? Do you want to...
Of course, is under construction, just like every TV show that
But
I
it'll
do.
get there. It'll get
It's
there.
ijpdesign.net.
The other thing is that I didn't bring up, but quickly, you also do woodworking.
I do.
A gorgeous piece that he just recently gave me as a wedding present. These like mid-century planter stands, which are phenomenal. But you also do cabinetry and
Oh yeah, credenzas and dining room tables
and a
we
lot
do
of
a lot
that.
of fun
That's
stuff.
on your Facebook page.
Yes,
Right.
some of
Yes.
it's on the Facebook page,
Yes.
which you can look me up at Ian Phillips, I guess. I have
think
no
it's
idea
just-
how there's
I
that
think
weird
you just
coding
look at
on
it-
Facebook.
Yeah, I think you just put your name in, right?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
sure. I'm sure
I
somebody
just
can
learned
find me.
Facebook.
It's
Such a dork. I don't know.
But if not, it will be on the website within the next 15 years when the website gets up. So
Awesome.
you can look for it
I
there.
can't wait.
Now
Thank
Kim's
you.
going to motivate me to get the website up.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you want to be kept up to date about our podcast schedule, please visit decoratingpagespodcast.com and subscribe to our newsletter. I'm also blogging. Check out my posts every week on the website. I have interesting articles about